Happy D23 again. Yesterday we tested Dole Whip. Today we're testing the Mickey Pretzels from the Unofficial Disney Parks cookbook. Now, I make bread quite often. It's one of my favourite things to do. Pretzels. I made sure to get this to the exact right temperature. It said 43 degrees in the book. It said it in a Fahrenheit, but it said 43 degrees when I translated it. I then added sugar after 10 minutes to the yeast and added salt, which is not something I would ever do. I usually add it to the flour so it didn't kill the yeast. Then you mix all of that together for some reason, and then you add the flour in one chunk on one side. As you can see, it got added very slowly. This is after the flour was just added, and then I switched to a dough hook. The dough hook then kneaded it for 5 minutes, I believe the book said. However, by the end, it wasn't as stretchy as I usually make my bread, so I split off half, and then I carried on kneading another half for the other 8 minutes. It was an extra, just to create that springiness that you can see in the video. Then I put on bicarb water. I got the dough. This one was rested for half an hour, per the instructions of the recipe. I then cut it up. Yep, into pieces. These were the separate pieces I was going to use to make the Mickey pretzels. Now, the recipe said to roll it. It never said to use a rolling pin, but it said to roll it. However, I didn't want to lose all that air because I knew that if I lost all that air and didn't leave it to rise again, which it doesn't in the book, that I would lose all of that airiness that I'd want inside a bread in general, as well as a pretzel. It's quite a horror show when you're watching it cook. It was not the easiest thing to shape. It genuinely caused me a lot of headaches. This, however, this is the second dough. This is the one that was kneaded for 8 minutes, longer than the other one, and I left it to rise for half an hour longer, giving it the usual hour I would usually give bread. It was a lot easier to work with. It was a lot softer, a lot airier, and the final product was more of the texture of what I would want from a bread and even from a pretzel bread. It was just a lot easier to work with. I can't even explain why it was so easy to work with. It's just shaping the first one was a nightmare and caused me a lot of headaches. And when I was doing this one, it actually rolled a lot smoother. It cut through a lot easier. It just, you can see in the video, it was just a lot easier to handle and control. Yep. I do still think that the Mickey shapes turned out more like teddy bears. I have no idea how she did it. The only way I can assume she did it in the thing is using stamps. We didn't have stamps. I can only assume in the Disney parks they all have custom stamps to do these things in order to make them consistent. It certainly was not in my kitchen. We actually didn't make all of them into Mickey shapes. As you can see by the first video, we did actually make some pretzel shaped because we got so annoyed at the actual making of it. And this is what we call the Darth Mickey. We decided to call it the Darth Mickey because they look like they're from the dark side. Yep, was not a great recipe, did not have a good time, and they were practically inedible with how bitter they were from the bicarb.